You may have heard people say that pigeons can always find their way home, or that they have a sixth sense for finding their way back to their loft. But what makes these birds so skilled at navigation is actually quite simple. It all comes down to one sense in particular. Hi, and welcome to this channel. Pigeons are renowned for their homing ability, which is the power to navigate back to a home, roost over potentially hundreds of miles. In fact, homing pigeons were used in both world wars to deliver messages because they could make it back to their loft even if they were shot at and injured. So what allows them to have this incredible sense of direction? Well, we know that they don't use landmarks like we do. After all, a pigeon does not recognize that the big rock monolith sticking out of the river is actually called the Angel of the North, or that the big pointy building in the distance is the Shard. Instead, they rely primarily on something else entirely, their sense of smell. Most animals have a pretty good sense of smell compared to us humans, who have pretty much lost our sense of smell along with our tails. But pigeons have an extraordinary sense of smell, far better than most animals, including dogs. They also have about 10 times more smell receptors than we do, which means they can detect odors in extremely low concentrations. But how does that help them find their way home? Well, when pigeons are young, they're taken on trips away from their loft by their parents, and each time they go somewhere new, they sniff around the area and take in the smells of their surroundings. This sense becomes associated with that place. Later, when they're released from a new location, they will sniff the air and try to identify the smells. If they detect the smells of their home loft, they fly towards them. And because they can smell over 100 times better than us, they can detect these familiar smells even when they're very, very faint. In other words, they smell the way we would see signs along a highway that say, "Home is this way." Researchers believe that pigeons can detect odors from up to 4 miles away, which explains how they can travel such long distances and still find their way home. But they also use another sense to make sure they get home safely. Even though they primarily rely on their sense of smell to get them home, they also use visual landmarks to double check that they're on the right track. And if they get lost or confused, they'll start to circle in the sky, which is how we get those dramatic shots of pigeons circling high above the city. Eventually, if they can't find their way home, they'll eventually head back to the place they took off from, because there's a good chance that there'll be some familiar sights and sounds there, and it might jog their memory. So really, it's their sense of smell that helps them find their way home, but it's their sense of sight that makes sure they don't get lost on the way. We should also point out that pigeons aren't the only birds that can smell odors from hundreds of miles away. Other birds such as swifts and nightingales can also do this, which means that this incredible sense isn't unique to pigeons. And it isn't just their sense of smell that's impressive. They have some other pretty amazing abilities. For example, they can recognize themselves in the mirror, which shows that they have a pretty good understanding of their own body. And they can also recognize human faces and remember them for up to 2 years. Now, if you want to learn why some spiders can sense danger through vibrations, click here. Or if you want to learn why cats purr, click here.